He owned 4 companies, a private jet, and a mansion with more bedrooms than he had ever bothered to count. And yet he could not name a single person in his life who loved him for anything other than what he could give them. So one cold evening, Adrian Bakare did something no one in his family, his boardroom, or his social circle would ever have believed him capable of. He took off his watch, changed into torn clothes, and walked out onto the streets of the city as a homeless man, determined to find out whether real love still existed for a man with absolutely nothing to offer. What he found out there would change not only his understanding of love, but the entire direction of his life, and it would very nearly cost him the one person who finally saw him for who he truly was. Adrian Bakare was 36 years old when he inherited full control of his family's business empire, a sprawling network of real estate holdings, manufacturing plants, and investment firms built over 3 generations by men who valued results over relationships. He had grown up watching his father sign business deals at the dinner table instead of having conversations, watching his mother host elegant parties designed less for joy than for networking, watching every friendship around him quietly calculate what it might be worth someday. By the time Adrian was old enough to date, he had already learned to distrust nearly everyone who smiled at him, because in his world, smiles were rarely free. He had been engaged twice before his 36th birthday, both times to women whose families ran in the same wealthy circles as his own, both times ending not in heartbreak, but in a kind of quiet, exhausted relief when the arrangements fell apart over business disagreements between the families rather than anything resembling love. His most recent engagement, to a woman named Beverly Coker, had been arranged almost entirely by his mother and Beverly's father, a shipping magnate eager to merge interests with the Bakare family name. Adrian had gone along with it the way he had gone along with most of his life's major decisions, not because he wanted to, but because resisting had always felt like more effort than it was worth. It was only after catching Beverly on the phone with a friend, laughing about how much easier her life was about to become once the wedding contracts were finalized, that something in Adrian finally refused to go along with it any longer. He canceled the engagement quietly, without explanation to the press, and retreated into the kind of isolation that wealthy men often mistake for peace. For months, he told himself he simply needed time, that eventually he would return to his old life and find someone else suitable, someone his mother would approve of, someone who understood the unspoken rules of his world. But the isolation only deepened his suspicion that every person who had ever claimed to care about him had actually been evaluating him, calculating his worth the way accountants calculate assets, and that suspicion eventually curdled into something close to despair. It was his older sister, Funk, one of the only people in his life he genuinely trusted, who finally said the thing that pushed him toward the decision that would change everything. Funk had built a small nonprofit organization years earlier, working directly with homeless shelters across the city, partly out of genuine compassion and partly, she admitted to her brother one evening, because she needed something in her life that had nothing to do with the family name. She told Adrian about the men and women she met through her work, people who had lost everything and yet still, against every reasonable expectation, found kindness and connection in each other, sometimes more genuine connection than Funk had ever witnessed in the ballrooms and boardrooms she had grown up in. She told him, half joking, that if he really wanted to know whether anyone could love him without his money, he would have to find a way to take the money out of the equation entirely. Adrian did not laugh at the suggestion the way she expected him to. He went home that night and could not stop thinking about it.